మనం కదా వెనుకోలు చూస్తే కదా డోంట్ పుష్ చేయాలి. అది రావాలి మెయిన్. ఏం దోశ ఎందుకు ఇది లేదు లేదా ఏం కాదు కూర్చోండి, ఏం కాదు పడండి. తీసుకున్నాను ఎంత పట్టండి. హలో ఇంకోటి రమ్మని ఇంటికి రమ్మని వైట్ షార్ట్ పెట్టుకోలే అయిపోయింది. ఏ పర్మిషన్ అంత ఉంటా कैमरा ठीक उड़ो ठीक हूँ बड़ा फर लगा। हाँ क्या बोला आकाश?
ये చూపెట్ట
नहीं 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 अच्छा नहीं लग रहा
నెంబర్ కావాలి చూపెట్టకన్నా నెంబర్ నెంబర్
అర్థమరా తీసుకో బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్
అక్కడ సార్ వస్తలేడు కావాలి ఎందుకు ఆగరా చెప్తాను బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ సార్
అన్నా అటు ఎందుకు అన్న యాది
అన్న ఫ్లాష్
అరే ఫ్లాష్ దియా నన్ను
అవునే నువ్వు ఫోటో కట్టిన నీ దగ్గర
అరే ఫ్లాష్ అన్నా అనేది యాదగిరి నువ్వు గెలుస్తా ఫ్లాష్ దింపకు
ఫోటో కొట్టి కింది కాను జరా కదలకుండా ఉన్నానా
ఫ్లాష్ అన్నా అని యాదగిరి అరే యాదగిరి నువ్వు కొద్ది బ్యాక్ కెమెరా
ఇద్దరు
ఫ్లాష్ డౌన్ సంపత్ నా దగ్గర నా బ్యాక్
అరే మీద పడగా కొంచెం ప్లీజ్ ప్లీజ్ కొంచెం వాడు బాగా వెయిట్ తీసుకో
ఫ్లాష్ అన్న నీ ఫ్లాష్ మొత్తం నాకు లైవ్ ఉందన్న
I remember the first time we did India-Pakistan, and we were like, how the hell is this going to work? And remember it going up all the way up to maybe 4.8 was the max we could. And you know, everything was bursting at the seams on that. So I'm a huge Formula 1 fan. And to me, any product you build is a Formula 1 car. You know, Ajit was our CEO back then, Ajit Mohan, and you know, we had this running joke where he'd run into me and say, Akash, so 50 million, right? I said, yeah, Ajit, done. I think I was as low as I could be in my career, and knowing that, you know, I was very passionate about startups. But you know, when you fail so many times,
right,
you lose hope, right? You're like, I don't know why I'm doing this anymore. I remember this one game where it was a slow night. I think it was like Punjab versus something, and Chris Gayle went crazy. And I was doing something else, and then I just looked at the screen, and there was like some 7 odd minutes. I'm like, what is going on? Like, how are people coming on? And the magic was always, of course, for me, I'm a big Dhoni fan, so there is Dhoni is like worth like 4 or 5 million concurrency, right? Dhoni comes to bat, boom, done. Incredible, uncanny.
Yeah.
Hey, these are real fans, and about a minute or later, Hotstar fans. The curse of scale is that for maybe 3 or 4 days in a year, when you have the scale, when there is a big billion day or there is an India-Pakistan game, only on those days, like for that day, it pushes you to really, stretch your infrastructure.
Yeah.
Your, how you engineer something. My key advice would be to always start with your customer and say, why should your customer use your product? We have 3 tenets, right? Video must play, ads must play, monetize, make money, and then subscription came along at some point.
Yeah.
You have to prepare to fail. And the more you do that, the less you're going to bleed publicly. This is the fun of working at Hotstar, is that you have to really think of how is this going to work at scale.
Yeah.
People always say that, oh, you compete with Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever, and I say actually we are competing with television.
Hi, welcome to yet another episode of Scalar Pod. And today we have with us someone who needs no introduction, Akash from Hotstar. And somebody, I think this was very much in demand. People are asking to bring Akash from Hotstar because I think Gaurav gave the talk on 25 million subscribers. So thank you for coming.
Sure.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Really excited. I think it's wonderful to be able to talk about what we do, and it's been a good journey.
Right.
But yeah, let's dig into it.
Yes. So we'll dig into everything, especially about Hotstar shattering world records on live streaming and all. We'll get there.
Right.
But I'll start with the first question that I ask all my guests is and because I love asking this question because I get different answers because different people are at different stages of company, right? Early stage, late stage.
Correct.
So for you, what does a general day look like as a CTO?
It's evolved as you rightly pointed out. I joke and I tell my team that I'm a full stack CTO, so I can fix cafeteria food and complex architectural problems as well. But through my tenure and I've led teams now for about 8 odd years now in this sort of CTO capacity, and every time the day looks a little different, right? I think what really caught me off guard about this role when I took it on, not just Hotstar and just technical leadership, was how much attention teams outside engineers require from you.
Right.
So I end up spending a lot of time sometimes with my finance team or my legal team, right? Or definitely my talent team. I spend a lot of time with, right? But on a regular basis now, I'd say I've gotten down to a routine where I allocate some time for myself to think and strategize, just some quiet time for myself during the day. And I stuck together, I try to, pace out through the month, let's say. I want to make sure I spend time with my people and equally on technical conversations, right? So largely I would say a day would look like maybe 40 odd % meetings. It could be a variety of things. Right, I try to keep it down. Some days are more intense than others. I have my quiet time where I think and I'm able to ponder over or chase down things that I want to do.
Right.
And the remainder I try to fill in with one-on-ones or if there are ad hoc things that come up. Sometimes there are fires, then you cannot dive into that.
Right.
But that's what a day looks like these days.
How frequently do fires happen, man?
Fires, one of the first things I not that much anymore, thank God. But typically, always the first port of call for any leader, I think, at least for me, has been that, I come in and my first couple of months has always been about how not to be a fire station.
Right.
Right. And not so much anymore. I think, once the group is set and they know what to do, largely again, as a leader, you want to you end up throwing yourself in places where there isn't leadership or assistance is required.
Right.
But I've been fortunate now. I have a strong team and, pretty amazing leaders. So I get to stay back and let them drive for a change.
So a lot of fires sort out themselves also.
Yes, and I think we actively focus on why there is fire. I think fundamentally attaching drama to something causes fire. So I believe that. So a lot of things, and drama is caused by things that don't come along very often.
Right.
So you say you do something so much, right? It's like bungee jumping, right? Like we don't go bungee jumping often, but every time you do, the anxiety is so high. You're like, oh my god, that's technically a quote unquote fire.
Right.
But you say, you know what, I'm going to bungee jump every week. So you're like, okay, great, and not to say that we cause fires every week, but we learn from
Yeah.
our fires, and there is a very strong, interestingly, our theme for the last 6-8 months has been so much on just improving OPEX, right, and just making sure that why are we spending our times on things we do, and how to reduce this fire quotient of it. But I think we've come a long way. I don't have fires as such.
Of course, makes sense. So I'll dig deeper into like how all of this is also built, like
Yeah, absolutely.
but before that, would like to know a little bit about your journey before Hotstar as well. So
Sure.
how
How far
has your
back do you want me to go? I can go back.
college days maybe, or like
Sure. So I grew up in Pune. I did my engineering from Government College Engineering Pune. Amazing ride. I worked for a year. I bombed in my GRE. So I ended up. I said, okay, I'll give it again. I bombed further and I gave it again. But I worked for a year in Pune. Amazing. That really molded me. I think it was really good for me. I didn't start off thinking that I thought it was a compromise, but I cannot tell you how much it molded my who I am today.
right,
So very fundamental 1 year, and I did my masters from Arizona State University. So spent 2 years there in Phoenix, and then moved to the Bay Area. And it was interesting because through my career, I've always felt that okay, this is my dream college, this is my dream job, and I've managed to get it. And then only to have an alternative that I said, okay, what if I take this fork instead, right? Like I always wanted to work for Oracle because I obsess about databases, right? That's like a passion for me. I said, oh, I have to work in Oracle, right? Like this is I'm talking about. I'm going to date myself. This is 2000s, right? Like so, I graduated, finished my masters then. I got a job, and back then, and then an offer from another startup then, and I didn't join Oracle because they didn't offer me any stocks. So I said, did I clear an interview? Yes. Was it any different from? They said we only give stocks to Ivy Leaguers.
oh no,
So I said, was my interview more simpler? I said, no, you had the same bar. I said, then what gives? Nahi join karna. So that's and that decision then led me to my first startup, which again shaped me in a major way.
right,
This was 2000 in the Bay Area. Went through bubbles. I saw like 3 layoffs, and it was very traumatic. And I quickly learned that the only reason I got to keep my job, and you saw a lot of really close friends lose their jobs.
right.
It was terrible actually that time. And you talk about loss of innocence and growing up, and I think that certainly was that phase for me. The only reason I kept holding on to my job, and this is something that really hit me, was because I was versatile, and it was purely because I was randomly curious.
Right.
I said, okay, we can fire this guy because let's keep Akash because he can program some web along with the application server he does. Okay, fine. So you let the web person go.
Right.
So we should let the IT person go because Akash can do IT as well. So I have done everything from IT to that, and then you quickly that really hit me saying, oh damn, like this is the only reason I have my job. Otherwise, I'm just a statistic.
That I can versatility
Just
across
because
the-
I'm curious, and not that I was good at it
Yeah, yeah.
particularly, but okay, you can do it. You're possible thing. So that was that phase, and that was a bit of a low. I remember jobs were hard to come by. I bounced around a bit. Went to another startup. This was around again 9/11, and we just passed that milestone oddly, or that event. And jobs are hard to come by. I literally changed 2 jobs in between. One of my companies was founded by some Saudi investor that went under. Then we said, okay, fine. And that's when Open Table happened. I think I was as low as I could be in my career, and knowing that and I was very passionate about startups. But when you fail so many times,
Right.
you lose hope, right? You're like, I don't know why I'm doing this anymore. So I got to that point, and Open Table happened. Open Table was again, I had another offer parallelly then, and this was in San Francisco. I always wanted to work in San Francisco then. This was a small group. Typically those, you have a whole day interview, and spoke to everybody, did the whole rigmarole, and then in the end, I knew I had the job because I had the head of product come and pitch me. So I said, okay, I have the role now.
Yeah.
And back then it used to be okay. How much money do you have in the bank? What's your runway?
Yeah.
What's your burn rate? How do you make money? This was the classical 4 questions, which I'm sure people are asking these days as well.
Again, right? This is back in the same kind of.
Correct. So it's cyclical, right? So I remember like those were like the questions I asked him, and he said, you know what? We just charge a dollar to everybody we send to the restaurant. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? Like this company is going to like bomb. But again, I've always followed my heart versus my mind. So I like the people I spoke to. I said, again, sucker for passion. So I said, okay, let me do that. And then that was a great ride. I was there for 12 years. Ended up, the company went IPO. So I was an early engineer there, saw the IPO. And that's really the place that I saw success. And then you said, oh, this is what it looks like. And these are the things that make it work. So that was again a very foundational phase in my career. And that really, sowed the seeds of sort of building that clarity. Right. Previously, people used to ask me, what do you do? So I said, I had this like 5-minute answer that I used to give. And I said, okay, fine. But with OpenTable, it used to be like, hey, what do you do? So yeah, we do online restaurant reservations. Done.
Yeah.
And I think, you look at it, some of these things, it's like, it's like reading a self-help book, right? Sometimes you read it and you're like, yeah, all this is obvious. Right, or sometimes even religion potentially, but like you look at it and you say, yes, this is obvious. So the simplicity bit and doubling down on that became like a key lightning rod to me.
Right.
So OpenTable happened, great run. We had an IPO, we got acquired by Booking. So I saw all of that. It was wonderful. Right, I had an exit and it was super. And but during that time, I decided to come back. In 2007, I returned to India. And set up the team here. And
returning was more of a personal angle, or just like you were excited with tech in India or something?
It was a personal reason. Again, like I said, I attribute, luck and destiny play a role, whether you believe in it or not.
Totally does, yeah.
Right. So, it was a personal event that led to it, and it wasn't something pleasant. But we were committed to coming back, so we came back.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough at that time, my mentor and my CTO, he said, so I quit, and he said, why are you quitting? So I said, you are an old school guy, you don't believe in remote work. So he said, now I do. So he said, let's try it, for 6 months. We like working with you, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
That's another technique that I followed in my career. I haven't, I'm like, let me go do the thing that no one else is doing.
Right.
So at that point, this is not something that's glamorous, but we had internal systems. So these are basically tools, and these are enterprise level tools that almost 70-80% of the company is using.
Yeah.
Now we are talking about working with sales, marketing, ops.
Yeah.
Everything these people do, right? And it was all Frankenstein together. And having worked in the more glamorous, quote unquote, the website part of it, it's like, yeah, great, I've done that. So they're like, hey, there's no one who's doing this or wants to do it. I said, great, okay, I'll do it. And again, that journey sort of led to, a lot of discovery and, whole different growth trajectory for me. So that was also, again, strategy of whether I've lucked into it or I've always said, okay, no work is, people say, hey, your work ethic is that no work is beneath you. And I still carry that today. I tell my team as well that if, at any point, let's say if you want me to do, you want me to code, you want me to do testing, you want me to, write Terraform scripts. If that helps the organization at that point, I'll do it. It doesn't matter, right? I don't care what your designation is. So I think that sort of ethic is very important to me, and I definitely look for it in my leaders, and I try to coach my team on it as well. So I was OpenTable, but I was back in India, and that journey was sort of, I felt like I knew I was not going to go back. I knew this was, I think, 2010 around. I'm trying to go back to where Tiny Owl was, but this was boom time, right? I think this was Tiny Owl. I don't know how many of you remember, but it was like this, one of the OGs of the food aggregators. Right. And I love the product. And, that was the time that, I knew I was going to be in India. And I figured that if I want to be here, I want to be break into the industry in India. I said, okay, let's see what. And I like Tiny Owl. I said, okay, cool. I'll come on board, right? I met Saurabh and I had a wonderful conversation and said, let's do this. So I accepted when they were at the peak, and then when I joined, things were terrible, right? And there is, there is a lot of history with Tiny Owl and the way things went down.
Yeah.
But at that point, I figured again, this is, I don't know, maybe there is a bit of adversity junkie in me. So I was like, how bad can it be, right? If I'm going to lead a team for the first time, I can't go lower than this, right? How much lower can I take the group? And I think taking that up, and it was such a special time. I think there are still a lot of
There was a
team
time
members.
when lots of startups in India were also starting. Like people were
That's true.
confident that we can start something from scratch and build tech in India
Absolutely.
for fresh problems.
True. So that was that period, right? So there was this feeling of gold rush, and there was a feeling of, there was a lot of excitement, right?
Yeah.
There were like what, five founders, if I recall correctly, Tiny Owl. They were all not more than 24, 23. So great, very young, lots of good energy, right? So it felt very much like the valley back when I started. So I said, this is great. This is great energy. But again, while we had a very rough period, and Swiggy was coming up and doing really well, and
Yeah.
I think the product's solid. Dale's doing a ridiculously good job there. But I think we did so many things back then, which at some point I think, yeah, what could have been. But wonderful team, absolutely amazing engineering team. Still, so many of my engineers keep in touch and have come back to work with me also. So I'm fortunate. So that group is solid. But that lasted 7 months.
Some of them came then from Tiny Owl, then Runner and Zomato. So I worked with some of those people.
Some of those people. That's
Yeah.
right. You have a Zomato thing.
Yeah.
We had there was a brief dalliance where I think Gunjan had come down. We were like, would they acquire us? But
Yeah.
that, didn't work through. Uh, but that lasted 7 months. I said, okay, fine. Turn the lights off. I remember the last few days I was like, I'm just going to write unit tests and contribute to the code base since there is nothing much to do. Then I figured, I'd do try my hand in e-commerce. I'd never done it. So I said, okay. So then I had a gig with Craftsvilla for a bit. I was also very curious. Got to do a lot of learning. That lasted 7 months. So I was like, okay, I'm on a streak here. I'm back to my startup adversity days, but learned a lot. And interestingly, a connection made at Tiny Owl is how I got into Hotstar. Again, I was not looking, and I think Craftsvilla was just winding up, and someone at Hotstar basically just called me, saying, "Hey, come talk to us." And I was like, "This timing is like very uncanny." So he's like, no, we know that this is happening, and someone who's worked with you before has vouched for you, so you should come and talk to us.
Right.
So I said, this is a media company, my experiences in product companies, this is not, doesn't seem like the right place for me.
Right.
They said, no, please come. We at least talk to us, give us an opportunity.
Right.
So I went and I met a whole bunch of people, spent time with them. Again, fell in love with the people, fell in love with the problem statement. And again, that group was so special. We were trying at that point, we had just the product. We didn't have a product. It was completely outsourced. And we wanted to do, this is like Audacity. I always point to this. And this is the thing that really got me going at Hotstar, is just the audacity of the leadership, right? So like, yeah, we want to be a tech company.
That was, I think, a lot of your role, right? Turning a media company into a tech company.
Not me alone. I won't take credit for it alone, but I think the seeds were there.
Yeah.
Right. I think the intent was there, and I will continuously say audacity, because literally was like, well, how can you be a tech company? We were like, no, we will take on YouTube, we will take on Prime, we will take on Netflix. All of these companies we will take on from India. They're like, okay, how many engineers are in the room? Well, very few. So that's how we started. But there was that will and that fire, and literally, I think that propelled us, that sort of leadership, and this like go big or go home sort of thing. And of course, it's not all bravado, right? I think there's a lot of hard work that consistently the team has put in. And, it's been a great ride. So, and yeah, here I am, 5+ years later, still kicking it.
Want to, double click a little bit into that as well. Like, I think mainly it was like Star was like a media company, and then like I think Accenture built a lot of the tech.
The first iteration, yes.
The first iteration.
That's right.
I think in your company, a lot of people still call it Hotstar 1, Hotstar 2, right? That's sort of a...
I haven't heard that. So when I joined, my first brief was to create our own platform, right? The original platform couldn't scale.
Of course.
Right? It just couldn't, because it was interesting. The whole architecture was based on like MySQL, and I know the first in 2017. I think it was Asia Cup, if I'm not mistaken. Interestingly, and for that game, every India game, the product would crash. And I literally spent, I think, 2 weeks with my engineers in office, fine tuning MySQL.
Right.
or looking at hey, this what are the right buffer settings or the network settings on the
Yeah.
servers to make sure the throughput works out. Very clear that that, and we knew that I was not going to scale up for our ambitions.
Right.
And that's when that was the year that I remember the first time we did India Pakistan, and we were like, how the hell is this going to work? And remember it going up all the way up to maybe 4.8 was the max we could. And everything was bursting at the seams on that. So we knew that that product would never serve us. But we were already on our way to kind of creating it. And I again, I'm very mission led, and I'm a bit dramatic as well. So I said, I like a call to arms. So I codenamed the platform Rocky. So that's what, and I said, like, it's a perfect underdog story here. If you've seen the movie,
Yeah.
nobody expects this person, Rocky, to do anything. And, he's pitted up against incredibly unsurmountable odds.
Yeah.
So I said, this is perfect, right? Like, I still have, Rocky Balboa's, you've got a bunch of movie posters there. So you'll find a Yoda poster in my office, which is, do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah.
And there is the Rocky poster, which I really cherish. It is Rocky kind of like, punching the air in the end. But that's what really drove, I think, that vision and just getting that group to think that we could do something was literally, I don't know how, even now, we managed to pull off the things we did.
So how technically also challenging it is generally when, like when you are moving to your own platform, there are already millions of users.
Yes.
Like the app was already out. There are millions of people using that app, built, outsourced, and you are sort of in-housing it. How does that get done?
It's a great journey. I don't know how much I can share, but I'll try to keep it fun. Have you seen the movie Speed?
Yeah.
Right? The fundamental premise of Speed is what?
While running the bus that time you have to like.
That's right. It's a great metaphor.
Yes.
Right? There is this existing bus that has a bomb on it. You can't run it below a certain speed. Right? And your job is to